Welcome to the DKM Podcast, the Don't Know Much podcast. We're here. We don't know much about anything, but what I do know is that Twitch is doing a big ol' mess up again. They really want to make YouTube a real competitive platform for streaming, even though YouTube hasn't had their full live stream service up and running like they do with everything else, like with YouTube Music and YouTube, technically YouTube TV. Twitch has did something new where they're paying. They're considering paying their partners. I believe it was partners, right? Less money. It went from 70.
Everybody associated is affiliate, but mainly the partners. Actually, to add off to it, like, yeah, I know what you mean about that statement, Marcos, about like, YouTube hasn't really launched their streaming platform. Well, technically they have. You just kind of have to dig through the cracks in order to find it, unfortunately. But yeah, essentially what's been going on, this big hubbub right now where an article by Bloomberg said that basically they are renegotiating. I like that term, renegotiating.
They're thinking about
contracts with their partners to, rather than giving them more money, is to be like, hey, we're going to take off exclusivity. So that's one thing. To my Twitch partners out there, you are no longer exclusively contracted to sign onto Twitch. You can still stream on other platforms. Again, I want to, like Marco said, stress this is not set in stone yet.
No.
It's just an article that's been coming out. But this is like one of those things like shareholders that like you could get easily in the know about it. It's like when I hate to bring this game up again, but it's like when Cyberpunk, I remember someone was telling me that, like, yeah, I wasn't surprised that Cyberpunk launch really busted because I was had stock with the company, and you listen into investor calls and they mentioned that, like, hey, the game might launch with issues, but we think that the marketing might still hold the game over, So what Marcos was going off on was like, yes, Twitch partners are being renegotiated, that rather than going back to the 70-30 split, it's going back to the 50-50 split, which is what affiliates get and what most partners get, unless you make you sit down with the Twitch staff and you make negotiations with them and say, hey, I kind of want more money, you know what I'm saying? Because remember, that 50-50 split does not include donations. Donations are completely separate.
Right.
The only thing you have to split from that is your PayPal or your service transaction fees and shit. But this is 50% of every bit you get, every subscription you also get too, and ad revenue, which is another thing that the discussions are talking about is, hey, we're going to not pay you, as we're not going to give you a bigger cut, but we're also going to put more ads on your streams, which, man, I don't know what is the infatuation with Twitch that they still don't properly understand, like, how to make ads as least intrusive as possible. Because, like, I know people have told me that, like, oh, but sometimes the streamer that activates the ads, but I feel like Twitch also just randomly puts ads at, like, the most inopportune times ever. Now, mind you, I'm talking about as a mobile viewer, but then again, I think you still get Twitch ads even if you have ad block.
Yeah, you do.
It's just crazy to me. Like, I'm watching already in this tiny, like what, 11-inch screen or something, and then the game gets minimized down to like 3 inches, and this fucking big ass ad, and there's like 5 of them like back to back. Meanwhile, I'm seeing this guy like going into like 4.5 gunfights of like in Fortnite, and I don't know what the fuck is going on at that point, but I can't see this shit because like the goddamn ad is so big that it's just taking up all this goddamn space. So yeah, it's kind of crazy where it's like Twitch is going to be like, hey, we're going to push for more ads. Oh, that means I'm going to get more money. Well, about that, we're also going to cut your income in half. And it's just like crazy to me. That's like, why would you do that? Like, why would you make a lesser experience for not only the streamer, but also the viewer as well?
I get that. And I guess I'm not the most biased person to talk about this because I've always never really liked Twitch as a platform as a whole. I only really get on it to support people that I know, but I just don't like Twitch. Now, if you are someone who already has a name, then Twitch is cool. But for the regular Joe Schmo, Twitch is not something I quite enjoy. But what you just mentioned with regards to the percentage cut, which is being considered, mind you, I want everyone to remember that this is being considered. It's not an official thing on the books. I start to think about, like, is this the first sign of the death throes of the platform? Maybe not. It's still expensive to maintain a what do you call this? Their servers so that everyone can do their live streams and et cetera, et cetera. So is this Amazon's attempt in telling Twitch, hey, we don't like your numbers of this year or that year. You need to bump it up. I'm sure a lot of gaming developers, companies, developing companies, they use the 2020 fiasco, right, to say, hey, look at our growth, look at our numbers, even though there's this whole world crisis is happening. Well, of course, everyone's inside their house. People are watching more content on Twitch as well because, they get to stay in their house. Not saying that was a good thing, people really, really did suffer with lockdowns.
So that's the option, yeah.
Right. But given, the 2020, 2021, things were still sort of the same in 2021 compared to 2020, I should say. 2022, things are getting sort of close to what we had before then, but this is still our new normal we got to live with. And that being said, the numbers aren't going to match 2020. The numbers aren't going to match 2021. So, am I safe to assume that this is all happening because some quarterly meeting came up, or I don't know, some what I say, some quarterly meeting, or some what's the end of the year thing?
Investment meeting.
The fiscal year meeting where
fiscal year.
Where they say, hey, what's with these numbers, man? What's going on here? And well, it turns out that they can't match the numbers from the previous year, so they're probably gonna tell them to bump the number back to 50-50. Who knows? It's still in talks. I wonder why that's the case. But obviously, you got a lot of people who are already upset before this consideration came out. And you said it was Bloomberg, right, who reported on this?
Yes. Yeah.
So people are moving to YouTube because whatever contract they had to maintain their partnership, they weren't happy with it, so they moved over to YouTube. They felt that YouTube was a little bit easier in some ways. Who knows why they went to YouTube, what real reason they actually went to YouTube. But if this is going to end Twitch partnership to the same degree that what was it, the whole migration of people going from Twitch to YouTube, if it's going to be something similar to that because now people aren't getting their cut, then like what's the point of staying on Twitch? Partners want to find the money. They can't multi-stream because of their partnership exclusivity. So what's the point of of staying in one spot if the money's always changing? Whereas YouTube, at least you can have confidence that the money won't ever really shift from 70 to 50%, right? So I don't know. If I was a partner, I'd be a bit upset. Obviously, this isn't a permanent thing, but,
yeah, of course.
But still,
it's also just puts in perspective that like there's a lot of things about like the Twitch like partnership affiliate program you got to like take into consideration. Like here's the thing though, you got to consider. Remember, even if you're an affiliate, and it hurts me when I see this, like, it's great to be an affiliate. You get your emotes, you finally get a sub button, right. And it feels like, all right, finally, I made it. I'm in level 1. I finally got through the tutorial. I busted my ass. I grinded. I hit those things, which, depending on who you are and how popular you are, those affiliate goals are nothing. You could hit those fairly easily if you're just fairly consistent.
True.
Have 3 people around your house to just be like, hey, can you just open up this tab real quick and just watch my stream, right, and follow it, and then, here and there, right? But there's a lot of things you got to factor in, too, where it's just like, okay, cool, does that mean I start making money? Well, remember, you got to make at least $100 before Twitch even pays you out. Right. They still take their cut, but you don't make a dime off of it every month unless that $100 is hit. You know what I'm saying? So... and that's the thing that like people bring up. It was a great video where they talked about like I forgot who said it, but it was a video called about like why the Twitch affiliate program isn't worth it in the grand scheme of things. Like it's not like it doesn't make sense to go from just a part like of a streamer to affiliate to partner. It's better to work your ass off, hit those partner goals, and then just be like, okay, I know I'm going to hit partner within a week, so I'm just going to hit affiliate and then switch over to partner as soon as possible, right?
Was it Devin Nash?
I think it was Devin Nash. Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing you brought up is just like with competition. Obviously, though, because I was a guy who, admittedly, though, there was a moment in my life, admittedly, earlier this week, I've been watching like a lot of streams. Deller was coming back. My friend Soul was streaming on Twitch, and I was really enjoying it. And I started thinking about like all the feature set that I was like, man, this is kind of cool. I like the fact that the emotes that my friend Soul has, I could use them on other people's chats. I like the feature set they have. I like the fact that the community amongst Twitch is really good. And the thing is that I feel like YouTube streaming has so much potential, but it still hasn't done anything yet to really be like, okay, this is going to be it. And, you brought up the fact that, like, oh, is YouTube streaming a thing? Well, it kind of is. But, like, if I go to my YouTube homepage, I have to click live and then look at here and be like, okay, which are the featured live streams? Okay, let's see, recent live streams, upcoming live streams, live now. Okay, Ludwig is streaming. That's good. He has 18K viewers. Oh, but where's the gaming section? Well, first you got to go to gaming. And then from gaming, you got to go find your streams.
Right.
Oh, wait, there's not streams here. There's trending videos after videos after videos. Okay, well, what about if you want to find a fucking game? You go to top live games, and the first game is fucking Free Fire. Next is Elden Ring and GTA 5. You click on these streams, and then you got to, like, click on that to click on that to click on that. Right. And that's the point I'm trying to get at with, like, YouTube. It's like, why is it so difficult for them to just make it as, like, an easier to find button? But at the same time, though, I feel like that the best thing about YouTube is that you could be discovered through your video content, which is way more discoverable and way more easily searchable. And that's why, like, the exclusivity thing is such a good thing that is no longer a thing, because now people could be like, okay, if I already have a successful YouTube channel, but I'm dragging my ass on trying to get people over to my Twitch channel, it's now not a thing, though, because now it's like, well, my contract no longer says I have to be exclusively on Twitch so I can stream back on my YouTube channel. Because it's so surprising for me to just assume that someone, just because they have a really big YouTube channel, like, I'm seeing channels with, like, over 500,000 subscribers, barely being able to pull 200 viewers on their Twitch page because maybe they stream, like, once a month or something, but they're technically partners or something.
Right.
And it's just not easy for them to do that. So that's why I think that if you are someone who's going to make other forms of content and not just be a streamer, it makes sense to stream on other platforms other than Twitch,
True.
And that's just the thing I'm saying, is that YouTube should really be striking while the iron is hot and be like, okay, this company's fucking up right now. We promised all these features that we still haven't received yet, including gifted memberships, which is, I don't know why they still haven't done that yet, but they still haven't. And it's just like, just put that little bit of a push and everything, and you should be able to easily take over Twitch right now. Now, I'm not saying I want Twitch to die, far from it, but I feel like that people should start thinking like, okay, I don't only have to stream on Twitch.
Right.
I don't only have to make video content. I could do whatever the fuck I want and just grow from wherever I decide to make content on. And also, to finish up your point about the split thing, like, yes, YouTube streamers do technically make a bigger split off of every membership. It is 70-30 there.
Speaking about money and where you should stream and stuff, I started off this whole, at least my portion of this topic, of me being biased towards Twitch, if you're, due to the treatment of the small timers, right? Of people who aren't so big, which is, it's pretty normal, right? You're not going to expect everyone to be an XQC or an Hassan, right?
Or just look at Machinima for a good example. Like, that's a good analogy I always refer to people.
For those who don't know what that is, can you just say it out? Can you just explain it?
Machinima?
Yeah, what they did that was so bad.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, like, it's pretty common knowledge right now, but, like, for anybody out there who probably wonders, like, whatever happened to Machinima, long story short, it was a company that, it's a fascinating history to me. I've always been very interested in that. But long story short, back in the day on YouTube, there was no way to make money on playing video game content. It just didn't work. It was a whole copyright minefield, and YouTube just basically put their hands together and just said, you know what? Fuck it. Video game content cannot be monetized. We can't put ads. We can't do this, and that.
Right.
XYZ reason, right? So a lot of people wanted to make video content, but they also want to pay their bills. So what happened was that there was a lot of these, like, MCN networks, which are multi-channel networks, that come in and they say, hey, we'll work with you. You give we'll let us take a cut out of your videos, of your profits, and we'll make sure you're copyrighted free. You're not getting your videos taken down. We'll work with you. We'll give you all this support and stuff, right? Now, if you're a content creator that is blowing up and you are getting all that support, let's just say you are given that treatment. You are given that, like, super fast, like, hey, we're going to help you out, buddy. What's that? You got a problem? No problem. We'll take care of it. But what happened with Machinima is Machinima took a bunch of contracts with a lot of young people that sign onto these contracts and think, like, all right, sign 5 years here. And you think, like, well, 5 years isn't that long, but it actually is that long. And then you start realizing that if you're not the top dog, they don't give a fuck about you. They won't help you for shit.
Nope.
But the only thing they help themselves to is just taking your fucking money. So a lot of people don't remember this. There was a big thing about Machinima where, like, a bunch of these content creators were saying, don't work with Machinima. They're going to screw you over. They're going to take your money up and yada, yada, yada. And eventually what happened was that by 2014, 15, by that time, it was no point of having an MCN, because most YouTube videos are like, fuck it. If you make video game content, you're probably going to get monetized fairly easily. It basically boiled down to it wasn't a yes or no. It was like you have a maybe option, right? And a lot of people just realized that, hey, I don't want to be in this company anymore. And then you contact your machinima rep through their email. They're saying they have an agent for you. They say, hey, I would like to no longer be contracted. And then they just happen to not respond to you. And then they'll just sign you on for years later on. And you're just fucked. You're just like, well, what the fuck do I do? So it's just crazy to me how many videos came out around that time where it's just people saying like, hey, fuck machinima, fuck these people. I want to get out of this contract. I've been emailing them for months now. They don't get back to me. I don't want to renew with them. I have no option. Please get into touch with them. Then when the video pops the fuck off, all of a sudden they write the email saying, we're so sorry about that. We will no longer continue the contract as you requested. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, you people are so easy to take my goddamn money, but you can't help me or get me out of the contract. I want nothing to do with you guys. Yeah, so it basically boiled down like that. So a lot of people, eventually it was just like, and it's just crazy to me. Like, you found out like people like Donkey got involved in machinima and he got screwed over by them. And I was just like, man, I don't know how anybody could tell me straight face and be like, oh yeah, I signed up with machinima. I'm like, why?
Right.
Why would you want them to take your money?
I think it's just the name itself. You know, being part of this big team, having the machinima logo on the top of your description or whatever, you know, just that.
Oh yeah, you felt like you were, you know, the top dog. Like, yeah, I'm in the gang. You know, I'm legit.
Yeah, that you're part of something bigger than yourself. You know, something that you're like you're part of the hype. Because machinima had what, Rooster Teeth, I think, everything. Like every video would start off with that fat red machinima logo on the white background, and it looked pretty cool. It was a good After Effect, and it looked pretty decent. And it was you knew that you were in a good video. Because how many videos out there can you say that you didn't enjoy that started off like that with the machinima logo? I mean, not much really, because machinima was more than just a name. The brand itself meant something of quality. At least that's what we thought back then, only to find out people were really suffering back then with the MCN, that they were just taking home.
But what was
money.
the option? You know, it was like,
True.
Oh man, like, yeah, this company sucks, but at least I'm getting paid.
And it wasn't just with video games too, even with certain kind of humor, right? Like very, very boyish, chaotic.
Oh yeah,
humor.
even machinima content like Red versus Blue,
Right.
the RB and the Chief, and all that sort of stuff. Like it just boiled down. Like I brought probably up this time and time again, where like there was a YouTube series I used to like a lot called RB and the Chief, which I still do, and it's just so funny because now when you're watching that 240p ass resolution, he still blurred the fuck out of that machinima logo years later, and I'm just like, man, this video is not already looking good as it is. I'm already have to squint my eyes like pretty hard, but there's like this giant gray block that I have to kind of like ignore.
Yeah, it's much like with those some music videos where they had the rights to it at one point, but then they didn't later in life, and then they remove it. So like with
the worst for me is when like I see music videos and like their shirts are just completely censored. I don't get the logic behind that. Like, I don't know if it's an aesthetic or it's supposed to be badass or something.
They recorded
it is just
the music video with the shirt without getting permission from or not even permission. How about it goes something like this? One of the famous examples is Soulja Boy with his song Soulja Boy, right?
Yeah,
and
the one hit.
And Kiss Me Through the Phone was pretty tight.
Yeah, I know about the call you through the phone or something like that. I know about that, but I haven't heard it in years.
All right, but either way,
the
Superman logo, right? Because he uses the word Superman, and there's a dance. There's a part of the dance where he does do the Superman, the dance, right? And I think they told him he can't use the Superman logo, and he still went with it anyways. And he ended up being blurred. Same Soulja Boy, the same dude who were many years later he tried selling a console that had a whole bunch of emulated games, Nintendo games, and they told him to stop or else they're gonna bring the ban hammer on him. And yeah, so either way, stuff like that, right? And it could be something as small as, hey, I like wearing this shirt. This is a shirt I like wearing. I'm going to wear it for this music video. And then they wear it, and then they get a call from this corporation's, what's this thing called?
Legal department.
Legal department, right? And they say, hey, blur that shirt, or we're going to sue you for this, and that, for lost in profits. And, yeah, it's funny. It's funny that it works, but, yeah, people who do rap, who do rap videos, they just love wearing things that are very, very like DC.
But obviously
Marvel.
they filmed it first, and then they realized later, like, oh shit, our legal department said that you can't do that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to just like blur the shit out of it. I don't know. I just always thought it looked really weird to me.
That's the dumb part. But
yeah.
either way, when it comes to like recent Twitch, what do you call this? Recent Twitch versus YouTube pros and cons. One thing that I saw Twitch versus YouTube is like words that you can say on YouTube without a problem, compared to Twitch. Because if you say it once in Twitch, it's sort of okay-ish. It's not like the best thing, but if you say it again, or it's said again in your stream, you could get hit with a ban hammer, a suspension hammer, whatever, right? But on YouTube, you can say certain words that, honestly, it won't really ban you. They'll just not monetize your
that's
video.
Not fun.
Right, but if it's a live stream, they won't ban you. They won't stop the live stream because you said a certain word. Unlike in Twitch, if you get reported enough, or if someone's actually a Twitch mod is actually watching your stream, here's the first word that's in the Twitch naughty word list, right? He says, all right, he said it once, and he did the proper steps to make sure like it's not being said again. But if it comes up again,
and he's not condoning it,
yeah, through no fault of his own, he comes back because someone's trying to be toxic to him or her. They get hit with a suspension or something like that, or the stream stops through no fault of their own. But on YouTube, it's a little bit more friendly. I'm not saying they're gonna.
Well, you also have to factor in that you have to moderate your chat also as well to not allow those certain words as well.
Which, ironic enough, a lot of people find creative ways to put in slurs in their what was it? In their
text-to-speech donos,
but also their names. They managed to get hateful slurs on their names through not typing it in English. It's not a name in English, but the Twitch what's that called? The Twitch bot that is control of account names and stuff lets it bypass because it didn't pick it up, and then someone goes on stream and they name themselves I hate N words, right? And because of that, this one streamer gets hit with a ban hammer because of no fault of his own, except Twitch's what's the word? Being incompetent. So yeah, people find creative ways, especially with the text to speech. You're absolutely right, and it's honestly like very, very funny. So but with YouTube, again, people are viewing these things where like YouTube seems to be like an easier option, although it is becoming easier to transfer over from Twitch to YouTube because you're carrying your audience over. And I like to mention the
well, there's always it's not always true though.
Yeah,
it's sort of crazy to me though. There is a thing called conversion rate, and that's sort of like the point I'm trying to get at. It's like it's really hard to properly like get people from one thing to another. It's so weird to me that like I hear people say like, yeah, man, I love you, I like that you switched to YouTube, but I like Twitch more, so I'm not gonna watch you here. And I'm like, how? Like, what is the main feature that this platform gives you that this one doesn't, that stops you from watching this streamer? I just never quite understood that.
If anything, if you're on mobile, both YouTube and Twitch have picture-in-picture mode. So whenever you're, I don't know, watching someone streaming on Twitch and you want to go back to, I don't know, scrolling through memes on Facebook, on Instagram, on whatever, Reddit.
Whatever. Yeah, but they're more like just saying like, oh, but I prefer watching you on that platform. And I'm just like...
I can understand why.
I don't know. I just never understood it. Like, I watch a stream because I want to watch a streamer, not because, oh, I'm going to watch a streamer, but, oh, he's on D Live. I can't watch D Live.
Daniel, would you watch anyone if they switch over to Facebook?
No.
There you go.
No, I would not watch Facebook. I hate Facebook. I would not use Facebook at all.
That's what I mean. I don't mind Facebook. I do mind it on mobile because the mobile picture-in-picture isn't quite a thing yet. However, that being said, YouTube and Twitch are a bit more comparable with Facebook. Even though Facebook, if you want to start to get a name fast, statistically speaking, you would want to go through Facebook. But one thing I wanted to bring up...
Let's not go all through the Facebook thing again. We'll be running in circles at that point.
Oh, I'm just stating the stats that exist already for someone who's starting from
I
zero.
know, but like...
Right, but I'm just trying to make the comparison that Twitch and YouTube are a lot more like which I wanted to bring up. YouTube, one point that I wanted to touch upon was something that you said, that YouTube recommends stuff to you given your taste in what you watch on YouTube. So I don't know, maybe one day you're just watching a Warzone match and out of nowhere you get hit with hey, watch this guy who plays a lot of Call of Duty. I started watching this dude called Exclusive Ace on YouTube because I was watching a Warzone video and he got recommended to me saying, hey, Vanguard, stuff about Vanguard. I'm like, ooh, I like Vanguard. So I watched his video and he does a lot of great breakdowns, and I've never would have come across this one YouTube channel if it weren't for the recommended section of YouTube, which mainly just recommends me videos of channels I already watch, and it just gives me the new content, but it doesn't really quite show me new channels all the dang time. But when it does usually fit my type of the things that I like, my niche. All that being said, it's something that's that you mentioned, it's better than Twitch, where Twitch doesn't really quite do that. It doesn't quite
they don't do any other form of content, really. VODs die after a while, which is one thing I don't like about Twitch videos, VODs, is that like you have to make sure you download those VODs before they automatically get delisted. Right. But when you're done streaming on YouTube, it's treated like a video, so that's evergreen content. That could be something that people can go back to watch years later. Here's a good example. I had a friend of mine who streamed Five Nights at Freddy's VR. It was the funniest shit ever. The VOD apparently he downloaded was corrupted. Time passed. He didn't know about it, and next thing you know, the VOD is gone forever in the lick of time. And it's like, I don't know how the fuck we're gonna get that video back. But with YouTube videos, you could, like, if a streamer is done, you could still go back to the streamer. And like, yes, I'm well aware that VODs could stay for a while, but they're not guaranteed to stay forever. Mm-hmm. They could disappear after a while.
Okay. One thing I will say about that is YouTube has a monopoly of sorts on that. That being that is server. The amount of content that's on YouTube. I wonder how long it's gonna take for one person to watch all the YouTube videos that exist on YouTube.
I don't think it would be possible.
I'm just saying, I know it's not physically possible, but I want to know if one person were to watch it all. I wonder how long it would actually take.
Here's a better question. What do you think would be possible? Someone to watch all of YouTube videos, or someone to do all the Blue Sphere levels in Sonic 3?
Yeah.
You know how many Blue Spheres there are, right? If you put Sonic 1, right?
Yeah. It's when you unlock the what was it, the dev code, the dev menu or something like that?
No, it's like the secret Blue Sphere menu.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The where you just pick a random number and it'll just randomly generate levels for you, which I think all of them can technically be beaten, right?
I mean, yeah, they could be beaten. They're just, too many to beat.
Yeah, I think it's like a 7-digit number or something like that.
Here we go. Let me see here. It has, I saw it just now. Let me see. It has 134,217,728 levels.
Oh yeah, YouTube wins by a far mile. Cause I'm pretty sure there's a what was that meme back in like 2019 or something like that, where it says it's the Shrek movie, but every time a vowel is said, it's the entire Simpsons series. But every time something yellow appears on screen, the entire B movie comes up, and every time a B shows up on screen, it's the entire the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But every time there's a costume, so on and so forth, right? I'm pretty sure there's like a big nigh infinite movie thing where it'll take like the heat death of the universe like 20 times before it can complete. And it's quite funny that people can create concepts like this where physically it doesn't quite exist, but because we can make it up in our minds, it exists in the immaterial world. And it makes me happy that our monkey brains can think that up. And then there's math.
And someone with a lot of time can do that.
But with regards to this whole YouTube thing that we've been talking about for about 30 minutes, I mean, the Switch thing.
Yeah, we should.
One thing I will end with saying with this is, have you ever considered, just to get best of both worlds, have you ever considered uploading your VODs into more than just one VOD platform? Because obviously Twitch could be a thing, but even though YouTube's the biggest one, but I think was it D Live doesn't have no D Live is just live. There's no VODs for it, right?
Well, I mean, DLive is just for people who get banned off of every other platform. They want to do that.
That's true. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, I have more respect for people telling me, like, yeah, I play Warzone on stream, but I stream on a phone via TikTok. And it's like, man, fuck it. I respect that as a platform. You do that, King.
That's right.
You get those views.
Instagram Live that.
Yeah, no, for real, though. If you could do that, hey, man, if you could convince people to watch a 4x3 screen all day and watch someone play Warzone and be cracked at, hey, man. Good for you. And to answer your question about, like, VOD, I never quite understood the logic behind it, especially when people do it as a separate channel. That's weird to me. The whole idea of, like, right. I'm going to make a Twitch channel, but I want to upload my VOD so people can watch my VOD content. But I don't want to put it under my main channel because that could drive the numbers down, which fucking sucks when when your videos do that. So they make a separate channel that obviously isn't going to have that many subscribers to just upload my VOD content. And I'm like, well, why don't you just chop up the VOD content and put it on platforms that could get discovered on your main channel?
Well, to answer your question on that, there are some streamers that I do watch. They're political streamers, and one of them in particular, he has 2 channels, and then there's other like fan-made channels that will do highlights as well. But one of on his main channel, he does his his live streams, not the entire live streams, but the big meat and potato content that he's covering, whether he's debating someone, whether he's on a panel, whether he's reviewing something, or he's covering some sort of topic. There's the main thing. Then on his second channel, there's different cuts, there's different things about it where like it's this meat and potatoes and then what happens after. Here's the clip of what happened after. The whole point of it is just to get more views on your channel, and you'll get recommended that stuff on a different channel, which will bring more people back to your main channel, and then more people will go back and forth, and you'll get revenue from both sides. People won't really see your your second channel. That's true, but if you put all your content on one basket, everyone's not gonna watch every single video.
All your content.
Yeah, all your content.
Exactly. And
so
it becomes to a point where it's like, how much experimentation can you do? Because what if the experiment you did doesn't turn out, and then later it affects your numbers in a sort of way?
Then there's this dude's fan channels, which will upload highlights of his live stream
content,
right?
Yeah, and then they're basically doing the promotion for
it, and for their own channel. And that being said, it makes it a bigger thing. If you're not actively watching his live streams, because whenever they're streaming, you're working, then whenever you get back home, you're at the tail end of everything. Even though they're recording on YouTube, you don't want to watch the entire 5-hour stream that they just did. So it's something that helps you get a fuller picture without going through the entire 5-hour process. But I can see why people do that. But it must be annoying to do it on your own. I feel like it'd be much easier if you have a video editor and they do that for you. All I know is that
you have a team.
This is Twitch thinking about it, and I'm sure they're seeing the publicity of people reacting negatively to this news about going 50-50 again. But I don't know. I just don't want this to bite Twitch in the butt, and I don't want YouTube to be this live streaming platform pseudo monopoly once more, because it's I need more content. And also I prefer watching Salty Bets on Twitch because it's funny. I don't know if you know anything about Salty Bets.
Sounds familiar.
It's a live stream that goes on, I think, 24/7, and it's it streams this fighting game called Mugen, and
okay,
yeah, it's funny and I love it. That's how I learned that's how I started listening to a whole bunch of fighting game music, because I don't really play a lot of fighting games or 2D fighting games. And listening to Salty Bets, a lot of these fighting games got hella bangers. I've always known that, but I wasn't aware of it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, how many times, what's the average conversation of someone just being like, hey, dude, the Capcom vs. SNK2 soundtrack is really great. I fucked my wife listening to that the other day. It was great.
She goes up to a small Getty that you've been invited to. So, you guys want to talk about the hidden lore of Sonic 3 and Knuckles music, and involves with Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson.
Yeah. That's how you...
Hey, guys, hello, class. Today is my college thesis paper presentation. I'm going to explain how Bobby Brown influenced Sonic music.
Dude, I just really like Twitch as a platform. Even though I don't use it often, I just like that it exists as a balance to this whole streaming and VOD platform. Because YouTube, if they wanted to, they could really just take over, no problem. The only way around it is bring back Facebook again, because a lot of people record their own stuff on Facebook, and it's not a YouTube link, it's their own Facebook video that they uploaded to Facebook, and Facebook becomes a pseudo VOD platform, but you have to go to their channel and all that stuff, and it's not the most comfortable way to view a VOD, but either way, Instagram is not that either, so I just don't want Twitch to lose enough people where it's not even worth becoming affiliate or a partner, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
But speaking about all that,
yeah, so,
I did wanted to bring up this one thing about Twitch, and maybe you can clear this up for me because maybe you know more about this because you're more into Twitch. But what's with this whole deal with, like, you can? I've been seeing a lot of people doing covering, I don't know, music videos and watching shows without, like, even just music. I was watching a buddy's stream, and he was playing music that was obviously copyrighted, but I don't understand how that works. He was able to listen to the song without getting a ban hammer immediately, or
you don't usually get a ban hammer unless you're like egregiously doing it. If you're talking about like the DMCA situation, it's pretty cut and dry. It's like, hey, if you're streaming if you're live streaming and you're playing copyrighted music and our bot hears it, the VOD will mute it. And if the copyright holder wishes to, they could do that. I think like the best example of the copyright system was Artifact. Okay, so people might remember this, but Artifact was announced, and people were pissed because they were hearing like Valve was making a new game. They thought like, oh my god, this is gonna be it. This is gonna be Half-Life 3, yada yada. And they showed off it was a Dota card game, and people were not as happy. But not only were people not as happy, people were so hella apathetic towards it that the Twitch category, because no one gave a shit about this game whatsoever, the entire category of Artifact was nothing but people illegally live streaming Avengers Endgame.
Oh.
And people watched it. They watched it from beginning to end, and I was just like, that's fucking crazy. Like, not even the Twitch mods give a shit enough about like policing that category that people were able to watch it. And I remember was watching like the official podcast. We're talking like, yeah, I watched like 6 movies already by this point, dude. It's crazy.
What the heck? Okay. I love it how...
But, like, yeah, if you're a smaller streamer, no one will really give a shit about it, and probably no one will report about it. But it's going to suck when you have to go back to your VOD, and then if you want to, let's say, upload it on YouTube, you have to figure out a way how to mute the song without, like, muting you. Like, if you watch, like, some of old Asmongold's, like, clips and stuff, back when Twitch was a little bit more lenient on the music thing.
Yeah, you're right.
You can hear that they have to like constantly shift the volume left and right to make sure that it's not loud enough that the music isn't being picked up.
Isn't that why? Oh,
and that's why like Pokimane got like a 3-day ban for a while because she was like live streaming like Iron Chef or something. But I think it depends on like the circumstance. I think you could watch like clips, but not like full on episodes.
Okay.
But then again, I've seen people get away with like watching like cop shows and stuff like that, and certain. But I think YouTube content, like YouTube creator content, is okay.
Okay, because I was still confused about it because obviously people, you know, really care about their what's that called, their patent stuff, their copyrighted stuff. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. If you're small enough, no one will really report it. So yeah, that's probably true. That being said, even talking about like copyrighted stuff, when it comes to like the abuse that even on YouTube, since we're talking about YouTube as well as as a streaming service, even for a VOD service, people can just falsely claim copyright something even though you created it, you did everything about it, you gave birth to this content from the ground up, and people could still, you know, say, hey, this is mine, and then YouTube would just be like, yeah, cool. One thing I like to bring up is like Nintendo and what's this thing called, Funimation. There was this thing that happened not too long ago, but it happened where Funimation basically copyrighted claimed this dude's channel.
all at once.
All at once. I think it was like 50 strikes or something like that.
Yeah, and that automatically equals a termination.
Yeah, and he loved covering Dragon Ball stuff, you know, because he loves the series, and he basically making a career out of it. And well, they didn't care. They just said, hey, this is our stuff. But then again, it's a whole Japanese aggressive.
I mean, it's not even that far away from even just across the pond. It's also when Firewatch suddenly got like super political, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want PewDiePie to make videos about our game, so copyright strike." And I'm like, "You really want to do that? Okay, cool."
That's true.
But look what the
yeah, you're right.
Publicity. That's not a good idea. You know, I never quite understood it too. It's not like the guy is like, you know, shitting on Dragon Ball Z or anything. He's just like, "Hey, I'm very passionate about this," you know. And there's some really fucked up shit you could do with it. There's the fact that like going through the copyrighted process is really a shit show of itself, especially like you have to provide your legal information because it is a legal matter.
Right.
I don't like talking about drama on this podcast, but I'm pretty sure you guys have probably heard about the Quantum TV situation with the Actman, where some guy made like a really shitty take of Elden Ring, and you know this guy has like this thing where he'll make a shitty take video, people will shit on him for having a shitty take, he'll take the video down, people would have downloaded the video to make a response to it, he'll claim that, well, that's piracy now because I deleted that video, meaning that I didn't want people to watch it, so I'm going to copyright strike you.
Ew.
And he's done this time and time and time again, that it for like a week, not like a week, but like a couple days, everybody was talking about how much of an idiot this guy was, of a piece of shit. And the fact that this whole thing started because some 17-year-old British kid, you know, did a video response of it, you know, people started getting up to arms because like, hey man, this is a fucking kid you're doing, like you're gonna dox this kid essentially, because obviously though he's not gonna have a lawyer at hand to do anything. So that's why like Giga Chad Atman just said, hey, I'm gonna take up on that shit, fuck you, you shouldn't be, you know, copyright striking these people left, right, and center. You're a massive hypocrite and a piece of shit of a person. So yeah, no, dude, that ain't fucking cool. So, you know, and the fact that like this guy had like the dumbest takes ever, but like he also wants to like play the victim where it's like, oh, but these people are bad people, but I'm expect nothing more than people from that. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, I don't give a shit about the bad take. I hate the fact that you're abusing the YouTube copyright system.
Right.
And that's the thing though, like people need to know that like when you falsely copyright someone, you get your ass in trouble, not just only that person, but you could dox someone effectively that way by copyright striking them and saying like, hey, I need your legal information so I could properly send you a letter of my lawyer or something. But imagine like some minor.
Yeah.
And that's why like YouTube doesn't ever tell people like, oh, don't do a copyright strike unless you have a lawyer at hand, because we're not getting involved with this shit.
Right. And then everything else gets leaked on you because you said, yes, I would like to contest this. And it's so dumb. Which is why it's super easy just to abuse the copyright system, because there's barely any checks and balances on it. And
right. And we're not even talking about like big company copyright strike abusing. We're talking about like just people who are butthurt because someone, you know, said their video was bad or they're wrong or anything. And then they're just going to be like, well, I'm going to take a legal matter into this.
Someone could quite literally copyright this episode saying, hey, I'm on this podcast.
Defamation.
And saying, no, I'm on this podcast. And then didn't consent to be on this podcast. And it's literally just us two. There's no one else here, but some random emotional can do it. And it's super easy because I think it's the reason why YouTube does it or makes it so easy is because they don't want to get sued for hosting content that's really messing up their alleged.
Well, what YouTube essentially does is just like, all right, you want to copyright it? All right, we're going to tell this person's copyright. Now, sometimes, which this actually happened, Actman got copyright strike by that same piece of shit, and then later he said like, but YouTube stepped in and they said, no, you're wrong. He's in the right. He's using fair use. We're not taking the video down, but we're letting him know that you did make a copyright strike. The craziest one for me was when Super Bunny Hop did a video talking about like the Konami thing. This is back when like the Konami like debacle thing was still new, and you know, not just like the Metal Gear Solid 5 thing, but it was also like, oh, how bad the company was treating their people, how people were getting left, right, and center. You know, he was like the first one to report it,
right.
And he became like an overnight hero essentially. Konami's lawyer, literally the lawyer's name is on the paperwork, says like, all right, we're gonna claim copyright infringement off of 2 seconds of you showing Metal Gear Rising footage.
Oh,
that's
right,
it, nothing else,
right.
just that. And it's just like, Okay, cool. But YouTube stepped in and said, we reviewed the claim. We're not taking the video down. We are telling them that it is not abuse of copyright. So it's very, very rare, but it does happen. But most of the time, YouTube is very like hands off of it. They're like the messenger. Like, hey, we're not the judge or jury. We're just letting you know that this is how it's going to happen. We have to take the video down because then we get into massive red tape issues.
Whoa, you're telling me YouTube manually reviewed something and their algorithm didn't?
Very rarely.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. It's like when people tell me that, like, I don't buy it for a minute if it's like someone tells me like, oh, yeah, we manually reviewed. No, you didn't. I highly doubt it.
Right.
But it happens.
It's just so dang easy. But I guess I know why YouTube does the things that they do, because, you know, given the whole adpocalypse scares that happened multiple times, it's something that, well, they're sort of scared of just letting it happen again. That's why, even though this guy seemed to have fallen short of what's fallen from grace or whatever I think the term is called, Mr. H3H3, from his recent takes on whatever he's doing, the whole thing that's going on with him now that making him lose sponsors and stuff, he defended fair use, and his case law, which brought fair use into a what do you call this, into the more
popular mainstream. It basically put things in perspective now.
Right. Fair use exists, but the more the more case law that there is on it, and case law being that there's court cases that defend the position, and that if you were to take it to court, a judge can see that a previous judge already talked about this, and this was his ruling. That's why a lot of judges don't really like making new rulings. They like to see what has already happened, because once it already happened,
I don't want to shake up the system. I want to get along with the crowd.
Well, that's not really it, because if there is no precedent, they'll make it. But if it already exists, then they'll just leave it there.
I think, to put in perspective, it reminds me, like, my cousin and me were talking about like really weird laws that someone had to write into the law book, like you can't marry your horse, and I'm like, well, what point of reference do we have? And like, well, someone clearly attempted to marry a horse.
Right. There's reasons for everything in the books. There's a reason why this and that happened. Like there's a story behind everything, obviously. And all I know is that I am not surprised that something like I think in Florida there was a law at one point or another that says two people of the opposite sex who aren't related to one another, like through familial bonds, can't live in the same house. There was a reason for it. It might have not been a good reason, but a reason nonetheless. And some people in the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the governor, and even the Supreme Court of Florida all said, hey, yes. The majority said, yes, this is good, and we're going to fly with it. Yeah, so there's a lot of laws out there in the books that aren't really enforceable because they're the product of their time, and no one really is going to waste their time enforcing a non-issue infraction, even though it's outdated. And no one's really...
sir, what are the gun laws for a musket?
You can have a musket because it predates a lot of things.
Exactly. So it's like, well, let's dust out the old books here. There you go. All right. This thing hasn't been updated since Windows 98, but hear me out for a minute.
Oof. I love the whole Windows 98 vaporwave memes and stuff. But that's one thing in the legal system that that people just follow, but you take it to court and stuff, like people will go with case law that's already existed. That's why, like, hey, Daniel,
for better or for worse.
Right. So Daniel wants to sue this one dude because something happened, and then his lawyer says, hey man, this is the current case law. I think it's going to be an uphill battle. It could be winnable, but it's expensive. And well, this is how much money we think you're going to waste trying to litigate all this. But there is a chance of winning, right? That's why a lot of people settle in some of these cases, because there's a 100% guarantee to settle where you'll get money for something, or there is a 50-50 chance where if you take it to trial, the jury might award you nothing and you still have to pay your own lawyer fees, or they may award you double, triple, quadruple plus lawyer fees. That the person that you're suing needs to pay your lawyer fees. That's why a lot of people settle. They're like, we don't want to deal with this whole sticky situation. We want to deal with what's safe. Hence why a lot of judges look at case law. So H3H3 basically helped make new case law on fair use, and even then it still gets abused by the copyright system on YouTube. But YouTube, obviously, they have their own.
They have to protect their own intentions. Like, that's what they say. Like, people need to understand it's that, like, yes, it's aggravating that YouTube immediately took their side, but at the same time, they eventually the company will look at them and be like, oh, so you want to defend them, so should we sue you too as well? I thought so. Like, put the video back in it, delist the video now, or you guys are involved in the suit.
Right. And that being said, I don't quite like the how easy it is just to copyright anything, but also when it comes to certain creators, they will, like, I'm pretty sure there's a good amount of creators where they say, hey, I keep getting false copyright strike, and then some people would YouTube will actually cover over every copyright claim because of the amount of the amount of false flag claims that there exists. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing with celebrities who get their house address leaked, and then there's a call that gets in for a false swatting, but they know that this is the house of this person, so they're of the celebrity, and they go, all right, let's check with the number on file, let's see what we can figure out, because we're not gonna send a SWAT team to Barack Obama's cousin's house, right? We're gonna get in trouble if we do, or something like that, right? Something along those lines, because it becomes a sticky situation. So once you get big enough, people will treat you differently, obviously. But for everyone else, good luck, I guess. You know, all I know is that when it comes to these streaming platforms, it seems like this episode has been us talking about
nothing but that,
which I don't mind. But I will say this: this whole talk about people should make their own platform. If you don't like it, make your own thing. Seeing how the market is now, and seeing how all these platforms exist now, it's not possible. How can you compete with YouTube? How can you compete with what do you call it, with Twitch,
Twitter,
right? It's the infrastructure exists, but just not for you. You know,
I like to look at it more. It's like it's already structured, so why change it up now?
True, I guess, and not much change will come through anyways, unless like there's litigation, there's actual like or petitions to your representatives to say, hey, this is what's happening here, we need to change it. And I don't know, I just wish things would be better. For things weren't so robotic, things weren't so corporate, but corporate is what makes things work. You know, there's an order of things, but I don't know. You know,
like, wagey get back in the cagey.
Speaking of which, I don't know if you want to talk about it. Maybe we can do another episode. I'm considering picking up coding again just so I can work from home, dude.
Honestly, though, dude, if I were you, I would take any offer to work from home in a heartbeat. I'm going to do that. But we'll leave that for another episode. And I think before we wrap, Marcos, do you know what day it is today?
4:30. Nope.
It's special.
I feel like I'm messing up. I feel like I should know.
Well, what's the day today, Marcos?
For April 30th, 2022. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm failing something here.
April 30th. It is the anniversary of Jack and Rosemary from Metal Gear Solid 2.
How would I know this?
Because she reminds you every fucking chance she can in that game.
I don't play those games.
Do you know what tomorrow is, Jack?
Oh my goodness.
April 30th?
Oh my gosh, Daniel. I'm sorry you have to go through this. I'm sorry you have to go through all that.
No, it's okay. I'm glad you went through it with me together. I'm just glad, because that's really the Metal Gear Solid 2 experience, is right? It's just constantly asking what the fuck is special about tomorrow. But then, then we get into the whole thing about, like, was Metal Gear Solid 2 actually a thing? Was that all a simulation? And am I playing a video game right now? I mean, like, it was a wacky time back then.
Speaking of, and I'll keep it short, has any of the content in any of the Metal Gears got retconned with future releases of like let's just say like stuff from Metal Gear 2 got retconned because of Metal Gear 4 or Metal Gear 5?
There's minor retcons. I mean, like, you could like consider like Portable Ops like retconned in a sort of way, which is really weird, because it was like one of the first Metal Gear games I ever heard. Well, unless you want to count like the NES games, unless you want to talk about like, well, Danny, were those games retconned? No, those things don't even count. it's sort of in a way that like Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops was coming out, and I remember being so interested because I thought like, oh, this is a well, I didn't know at the time, but I found out later is like, damn, if this is a Metal Gear Solid game without Kojima as like the director, he was a producer. They asked him eventually when Peace Walker came out, because remember, by the time Portable Ops came out, MGS3 was already out. Kojima said time and time up to that point, he's like, "Fuck it, I want to be done with Metal Gear Solid 2, but they told me they'd make Metal Gear Solid 3, so I made Metal Gear Solid 3. But that people fell in love with Big Boss, which is kind of ironic because you're not supposed to do that. But when you're that good looking, that much of a likable character, hey, I know this guy's gonna eventually have child soldiers, but he's not that bad. I mean, he's kind of cool. He's funny. He ain't no simp. I respect that.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, when Metal Gear Solid 3 blew off, like they're like, oh shit, we want more games based on Big Boss now, and they're like, all right, well, I don't want to make the PSP game because that console's gonna die, and I know it just came out, but it's gonna die, and so some random guy's director said like, oh, I want to direct a Metal Gear Solid game for the PSP and make it like Wi-Fi focus and have multiplayer and yada yada, which I played a little bit of it. It's actually one of the earliest examples of Wi-Fi multiplayer I ever played. But anyways, basically when that game came out, you could still take it and leave it as like, is it canon or not? And then when Kojima was like, you know what, fuck it, I want to make my own PSP Metal Gear Solid game that is canon, they asked him like, well, where does Portable Ops fall in? And he says, and I quote, some of the basic ideas of it is canon, but the shit with Null and all the other characters do not count. All we know is that in that game, he gets a Philosopher's Legacy, which is like $1 bajillion, and then in Peace Walker, it starts with him already having a small army.
Okay.
So, yeah, there is some minor retconning, but it's usually for shit that's like really not that like serious. But, and especially in the case of Metal Gear Solid 2, which is actively meant to fuck with you, that's
I only bring it up because every Fallout game that comes out, something else gets retconned from a previous game. That's why I'm like, I'm pretty sure this exists for other games as well. That isn't,
especially in a case of Fallout where like you went from Interplay to Bethesda, like obviously though there's going to be some confusion in the transfer and stuff.
Even Obsidian Studio,
which is really funny,
did that because with New Vegas, even though it had the original developers from 1 and 2, they still retcon some things in New Vegas. So it's I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it happens and it has to happen sometimes, but yeah, I think we should wrap up from there. Thank you for watching and listening to the DKM podcast. We greatly appreciate it. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you haven't yet, please feel free to join our Discord server and follow us on Twitter. All the links are below. Just as you guys also know, if you're watching this on YouTube, you could listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and on Anchor. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good one. Stay safe and take care. See ya.